So part two. So I signed I signed where mom asked me to sign at. That was highlighted in yellow on those papers. She explained the process to me. I don't remember. But she explained to me what those papers meant. That's when she asked me, do I want copies? And I said, what do I need copies for? Aren't you going to have a copy? And she said, of course. And I said, then what do I need a copy for? And she said, you never know in life. She goes, you might need them for something. What am I ever going to need them for? If I need them in life for something, you're going to have a copy of them. Then I'll just get a copy of them from you. Who knew that, things happened the way they did? And the lighting in here is terrible. If I had the light down on it, it would shine right down like that. But anyway, so I like I had said, I never wanted a copy of them. They weren't important to me. What was important to me, that mom was going to adopt me and I was going to be her daughter. That's all that mattered to me. Not a piece of paper. I could care less about a piece of paper. If I would have known back then that obviously, things were going to turn out the way they did, yeah, I would have wanted a copy. Not psychic, I never thought about it. I always had that hope that I'd always see her again. And so I said, she explained what the papers meant. And she had asked me, she said, what would you like me to name you? Because she could have chose a name for me. And I told her, name me whatever you want. Pick a name. And she said, well, if you had a choice, what would you like? And I said, I don't know, maybe Elizabeth or something like that. And mom told me she didn't like nicknames. And she didn't want anybody to be calling me like Liz or Lizzie or anything like that. And if she would have, if she would have changed my name, then other people would have found out. But no, because it was only going to be on paper. And she had told me that she never named you or Rita. Uncle Bud did, or his mother did, something like that. But she did not name you guys. That's what she told me. And that's why I told her, you pick a name for me, because you didn't get that chance. You didn't get that opportunity. And so just name me whatever you want. And then that'll be my name for you. So she said, well, let me think about that for a bit. She goes, and I'll think of a name for you. And so later, it was actually that day, because I was on the couch still talking, and I was looking through those papers, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't understand what they meant. I didn't understand what they said, to be honest. And on that paperwork, mom had listed, there was a section on those papers about reason why for me to be adopted, that she wanted to adopt me. And mom listed something, and I don't remember exactly what it was. That there was something mentally wrong with me, and either like I had autism, or I had a mental disability or something like that, learning disability, something weird. I don't remember, but it had something to do with that. And when I was reading that, I said, and I read it to her, and I said, what does that mean? And she was, well, I don't mean that like you're mentally retarded. I said, well, why'd you put this down? And she said she had to list something where she couldn't just list that, well, I wanted to be your mother and you wanted me, she wanted me to be her daughter and I wanted her to be my mother. She said she had to have something substantial besides just listing that. There had to have been a substantial reason. I go, you could be adopted? I said, for whatever reason. But anyway, mom said she had to have a reason. Um, and Rose told me that too. The reason why her stepfather adopted her was because he wanted an heir. He didn't have any natural children. He didn't have any stepchildren. She was it. And he had a family that he didn't like and he didn't trust, and they were like, I think, mafia associated, something like that. And he had his own business and stuff like that, and there was partnership. And if he was to die, he was afraid that they would try to take stuff away. And I said, well, he was married to Nana. They wouldn't be able to do that. They lived in California, so why would they be able to do that? They couldn't. And so just so that I guess Nana or something wouldn't get no slack, he legally adopted Rose, but he loved Rose as his daughter, and she loved him as her father. And so she wanted to wait till she was 21, and I think Nana and Papa married when Rose was like 15 or 14 or something weird like that. And so anyway, when Rose was married to Ollie, um she was 21 years old when she was legally adopted, so she didn't have to tell her natural father because she didn't want him to know, because she didn't want him to get hurt. So anyway, now I just forget why I even said that. Now, when I play this back, then I'll be like, oh yeah, that's why I said it, because right now I really don't remember. But so anyway, mom had said to me, she goes, well, what do you think of the name Vera? And I said, you told me that you hated the name Vera. And she said, no. She goes, that's my mother's name, and I never wanted to be referred to or associated with my mother or that name. So I always went by Marie. And I'm like, oh. I said, actually, it would be very strange for me to be calling you Aunt Vera. I said, because you don't look like a Vera. And so she kind of like chuckled. And she said, and I said, why Vera? Well, mom wanted to give me her name, or she considered giving me her name. And since my middle name was already Marie, and her middle name was Marie, because mom was obviously Vera Marie Waltman, she considered me being Vera Marie Waltman II. So that's how that came into play. And then she said, let me think about that for a while. Let me chew on it, I think is what she said. And so she thought about it, and I went to the office, and I was working inside there, and I came back out into the apartment, and mom goes, and I said, I was practicing writing on paper Vera Marie Waltman II. And so I was just practicing. And so I showed it to mom, and mom goes, she goes, I really like your name. She said, I think you have a pretty name. And I said, I never liked my name. And she said, why? I said, I don't know. I just never liked it. She said, the whole name or just the first name? The first name. I never liked Teresa. And mom said, she goes, I like that name. She said, I like your name, Teresa Marie. She goes, it has a nice ring to it. And she said, I'm going to keep your name the way it is. And I'm like, no, I want my name to be different. So mom added Vera to it. So and I know I told you this, my name on paper is Teresa Vera Marie Backham Waltman, because it had to be Backham, because on paper, because mom was adopted me and her last name is Backham, so therefore Backham had to be up here. Just like Rose, when her stepfather adopted her papa, her name what became Rose, Josephine, Nass, Cersina was dropped. That was her maiden name. And Waltman in parentheses, just exactly like that. I mean, it didn't change Rose's last name from Waltman back to Nass because she was married to your Uncle Ollie. Same thing, my name was not going to become Backham. It was going to stay Waltman because I was married to Tony. So where Rita ever came up with, well, Teresa would be a Backham, not a Waltman, she's a liar. She doesn't know what the frick she's talking about. So that's where that happened at. And when I had first asked mom to adopt me, well, the day that I asked Mom to adopt me, Uncle Bud came in, and I was sitting near Mom. I sat on the. I was sitting on the. I got up off her lap and I sat on the arm of the cushion, and then I just stood there, and Uncle Bud come in, and he said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Nothing. We're just talking." And he looked over at Mom, and he said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "Nothing's wrong." She goes, um "I know you're busy outside with the maintenance man, because your dad would go out and tinker around with our maintenance guy and work with him to keep busy. Actually, your dad was teaching the maintenance man at the motel a thing or two about being a maintenance man." But he sat down and he goes, "What's wrong? Is there anything wrong?" And Mom says, "No, there's nothing wrong." She said, "Teresa and I were talking, and she asked me something, and I would like her to tell you what she said." And I looked at Mom like, you know, "No, I'm not telling Uncle Bud what I just got to talking to you about." And Mom said, "No." She goes, "He's my husband. I am married. And he needs to know about this. And I would like for you to tell your uncle what you have asked of me." And Uncle Bud just like looked at me like, "What?" Like, I don't know. He had this weird look. And I said, "Uncle Bud," I said, "I asked Aunt Maria," I said, "to legally adopt me. I want to be her daughter." Because after Mom told me how she felt about me, about being her daughter, she told your dad. And that was the only thing I was allowed to tell Tony. That was it. Any conversation between Mom and I, ever, was always behind closed doors. Was even when I was on the phone with her in communication, I had to be behind closed doors. I couldn't openly talk. Not even Uncle Tom's, except there was a couple of times I did, and Uncle Tom came to monitor the phone conversation because I was getting sassy and mouthy over the phone with Mom. And then Uncle Tom yelled at me and told me, "Watch my mouth." But Uncle Bud's like, he just I remember him at first not saying anything. He was in shock. And I don't remember. There was a conversation, that dialogue that went between us. I don't remember it all. But I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and when I came out of the bathroom, that's when your dad said to Mom, "If you decide to do this," because when I was in the bathroom, I heard them talking about what, like, I think your dad asked Mom, like, what brought this on. And she told him what I had said. And I know that Mom had shared with Uncle Bud some, not all, some stories about what I told her on how I grew up. And actually he didn't like it. And so when I came out of the bathroom, that's when I heard him say to Mom, "If you decide to do this, that would put her into an inheritance." And Mom looked up at, because I was standing right there, and I said, "No." I said, "I don't want anything. I never want anything. Leave my name off of it. If that's what you have," because I was under the impression that they had a will. I was told they had a will then, and that was in 1986. So if they revoked that will and redid another one and a trust, I would never have known that, because I was under the impression in 1986 they already had something written up, like if something happened to them over the road, then arrangements would be made and their wishes could be carried out and stuff like that. And I went to Mom and I said, "No, leave my name off of it. I don't want anything. That's not why I asked you to adopt me. I want you to legally be my mother. I don't want any possessions. There's nothing I want. This is the only thing I want. This is all I desire." And she says, "I know that." I said, "Then don't ever mention it. You don't have to." And I told Uncle Bud that. I never have to be mentioned. And which is another thing. I mean, obviously Rita wouldn't know this, but I told her this, in a text message, pretending to be, well, I was on Debbie's site. I told you that. That I never wanted anything. And Rita's thing was, well, if there was another child, how come she, meaning me, wasn't listed? I wouldn't have been, because I told Mom no. Leave me off of it, basically like I didn't exist. I didn't put it like that, but I didn't want a damn thing. I still don't want nothing. And so I remember Uncle Bud telling Mom that, well, we'll be talking later. I thought, oh crap. But when we were going through the papers and Mom was explaining stuff to me, I had said, what does Uncle Bud say? Think about this. And she looked at me and she says, I don't care what Uncle Bud had to say. And I thought, oh, Uncle Bud didn't like it. He didn't like Mom adopting me. It was never discussed again. It was never mentioned again. I was afraid to say anything or mention it. Or not afraid. I wasn't afraid. I can't say that. I just never did. I guess assumed that Uncle Bud didn't like it. Or I guess he would have had to have known, obviously. Because he had to sign papers for it. So she put the paperwork away and we talked. And I went to the bathroom after that. And when I was in the bathroom, I was crying, but I was happy tears. And I was thinking, what do I call her? What do I call her now? Because I don't know what to call her. And so I thought of a name. And so I come out and I looked at Mom and I had tears in my eyes. And she said, what's wrong? And I said, nothing. And she said, don't give me that. Come here. And I went to her and she had me sit on her lap and put her arms around me. She goes, you tell me what's wrong. And I said, nothing's wrong. And she said, something's wrong or you wouldn't be crying. And I had tears in my eyes and she just goes like this and wipes them away. And she said, are you having second thoughts? I said, no. She goes, if you don't lie to me. She goes, if you're having second thoughts and you've changed your mind and you don't want this, I'll tear these papers up right now. She goes, and it will never be mentioned again. And we'll just have the relationship that we discussed. I said, no. I said, it's not that. She said, then you tell me what's wrong. I said, Aunt Marie, I said, there's nothing wrong. What do I call you? What do I call you now? And she looked at me and she kind of smirked, like not smirked, but kind of smiled. And she said, what would you like to call me? And before I told her, she said, you're used to calling me Aunt Marie, because I had been calling her Aunt Marie since I was 19 years old when I first met her. And I mean, they had known that Tony had a girlfriend when a year before I ever met the family, when I was 18. And the only one I ever talked to on the phone was your Uncle Ollie. So they knew I was in existence. They just never met me yet until in 84 at the reunion. So Mom had said, you're used to calling me Aunt Marie, so just continue calling me Aunt Marie. And whenever you feel the need to call me something different, then that's what you call me. And Mom was just thinking Mom, M-O-M. And I never called Mom M-O-M, Mom. I never called her that. And I said, I already have a name for you. I already have a name that I want to call you. And she said, what is that? And I said, Mama. I want to call you Mama. I said, you're from the South. And, you're called Meemaw. And, as Grandma. And I said, I want to call you Mama. And she shook her head. She said, then that's what you call me when you want to. But She said, around the family, when this is made legal, I'm not allowed to call her mama in front of anybody because she didn't want anything getting back. So, anyway, we went out to dinner that night, actually, and nothing was ever mentioned because I couldn't. And we went out to dinner, and mom, let's see, I think I had a Dr. Pepper because when we went out to eat to dinner, I was allowed to have soda or iced tea. If it was at the apartment, milk. Mom always gave me milk. Sometimes it was iced tea. She let me have iced tea. But milk. Breakfast, milk. Lunch, milk. That was mom. But when we were out in public, I was allowed to have something besides milk. And so we're sitting there at the table, and we have our glass, and mom raises her glass up and she goes, I want to do a toast. And Uncle Bud and Tony are just kind of like looking like, for what? I'm like, no, this is between her and I. Mom took her glass. I think she was drinking iced tea. I think I was actually drinking Dr. Pepper because I wasn't allowed to drink soda very often. And that night I was allowed to pick what I drank. And we took our glass like that and clicked them. Me and mom clicked them together like that. And mom winked at me. And that was our celebration of her adopting me. Tony didn't know. Tony's like, huh? And Uncle Bud just said to Tony, well, that's something that's between them. They have their own little secret something. I forget what word he said, but he said secret. Maybe he said toast, secret toast. They had some secret between them that they're doing. And because Tony wasn't supposed to know. Nobody knew them unless mom told whoever. And that comes later. But so when they left and mom went to Victorville and had dad, Uncle Ollie, sign the whatever papers that he had to, the consent papers. And she went up to Northern California. She had told me that she had called me. So I think she was at grandma's house. And she said I would be getting a phone call at whatever time. Make sure that I'm inside the office. It would be between whatever hour, like 9 and 11. I think it was something. I believe it was in the morning or early afternoon. And to make sure I was in the office, it was between a certain a certain time window, like 4 hours. Maybe it was between like 10 and 1 or something like that, whatever it was. I just don't remember the time frame, but it was between whatever hours. So I just hung out in the office. I was afraid to go outside. And so I had paperwork, and there was always paperwork. And waiting for this phone call. And I got a phone call, and I want to say it was from the court. I think it was the judge, because I couldn't be there in person, and I was asked questions. I don't remember all those questions. The only question that I currently remember is asked, like, if I was okay with the adoption, am I consenting to it, and what is my reason for wanting to be adopted by mom. And I gave the explanation. The conversation wasn't very long. I mean, I remember basically telling the judge, I believe, who is that called me, that I love her. Yes, she's my aunt. I love her like she's my mother. I'm very close and attached to her. She's like nurturing to me, and they wanted to know, well, explain, like, how do you think she's nurturing? You know, what does she do? She teaches me things, you know, she hugs me, she loves me, she took care of me when I was sick. You know, I just like kind of like gave this list. And they and it was just like for verification, verified my age and all that kind of whatever stuff. And I said, I don't remember the conversation being very long. It might have been 15 minutes, it might have been 20, but it wasn't more than that, I believe. I don't think it was. Um, I remember at the end of when, if I had any questions, I don't remember if I did or not. Um, I'm not an inquisitive person, so I probably did have questions. I do remember asking if mom was there. Is my aunt there? And I don't remember what they said, if it was a yes or a no. I honestly don't remember. So I don't want to make anything up. I don't remember. Um, but the judge had to verify. Um, I guess before he did whatever order, because mom had already went to court. Um, and anyway, when the adoption was final, and I swear I wish I could remember the month. I know the year. It was 1986. I know that factually. But I think it was between September or October. I know it was definitely before December 1st. That I do know. I remember it was before December 1st. Because a week before, I think it was a week, 7 or 9 days before Christmas, that's when we were transferred from San Ysidro into San Bernardino. And I saw mom at the right end of November, early part of December, before they left and went back to Missouri for the Christmas. So I did see them before that. So I know my adoption was either, it was between like September and maybe first part of October. So it's in between there. I always want to say September, but it could have been October. I don't remember. I wish I did. It doesn't matter, because when I sent the court papers off, I specifically stated that the year of 1986. So let's see. That's pretty much it of the me being adopted. But when it was final, they did come back, and mom had told me that it was legal. It's done. And she had told me, she said, now the training begins. And I had told you this too, that mom trained me. She retrained me. She reconditioned me. She retaught me on everything. As I said, she basically picked an age of 3 years old, and taught me. My words now are ground zero, up, because she didn't like the way I was raised. She did not like what I knew, and I didn't know much of anything in as far as she was concerned. And she told me, whatever you've learned, whatever you knew, whatever you were taught, and in my eyes wasn't very much, you forget, and it's gone. I am going to train you. I am going to reteach you. And she did. She was a great teacher. She had a lot of love. And I've said this, I know, before to you. Mom had a lot of love. She had to have. She had a lot of patience. She had patience like a saint with me. And she had to use discipline to straighten me out and to raise me up the way she wanted me to be raised, and the way she wanted me to turn out as an adult. It worked. It took a while, because this right here couldn't keep shut. That was one of her biggest challenges. But she taught me how to like re-drink. I kid you not, because I had this thing. Her and I would be in the morning sitting on the couch, or I'd be on the couch and she'd be in the chair, and with my coffee, I'd go like that and slurp. I never even knew that I did that. And mom, take the cup away from me. Those are all different stories. You drink that right. This is how you drink. And she'd show me, this is how you properly drink, how you hold your cup. Because I would hold, and I still do it. My finger goes out like that. That's like a natural thing. She asked me if I was ever taught that. I said, I don't remember. And my pinky always normally goes out like that. So around the family later on, don't do that. because people were making comments. I don't know why. Stupid family. They weren't stupid, but you know. But she this is how you properly drink, and she'd show me. I'd mimic her. So she did all of that, and it took a lot of time and a lot of effort. I said I called her Mama. I spell Mama Mawma. I thought that was actually the Southern way of spelling Mama, and because I wrote her this one letter, and when I was young, and she's like, "You misspelled. This is not how you spell Mama." And I looked at her and I said, "Well, I thought that was a Southern way of spelling Mama, Mawma." And she said, and she looked at me and she smirked and she goes, "Okay, that's the way you spell Mama then." So, but when your uncle died, the day of his funeral, before the argument between her and I happened, Tony's grandmother stopped us in the aisle because Mom and I were going to the bathroom before the what do you call it, benediction, or I don't know, the funeral thing started. And Mom had me by the hand, and her and I had I told you those matching out. They weren't matching identical. But they complemented each other. You could tell. And Tony's grandmother, Rose's mother, Nana, said, "Oh, you have matching outfits. You have mother and daughter outfits," and she was very sarcastic about it. And I'm like, "So?" And she goes, "Oh, so you guys went shopping together?" No, actually, we went shopping 2 hours apart from each other, or a few hours, or 4 hours apart from each other. And we ended up going to Ross. We both went to Ross. Tony's the one who picked out my outfit. And they looked really nice standing there. And Nana goes, "Oh, you always act like she's your mother." I said, "Because she is." I was pissed. I didn't care. Dad was gone. And she said some derogatory stuff, and she gave reference to your dad about, like, "Well, all of this is going to come to an end. You just wait and see." And I'm like what? She's my mother. And I was pissed. I was kind of indignant about it. And Mom looked at me, and I said, "What?" I said, "Who cares?" I said, "What does it matter?" I said, "Dad's dead." I go, "He's up there." And I pointed, and I turned, and I pointed to the casket. I said, "He's up there." I said, "Inside that casket." I said, "We're burying him today." I said, "Who really cares?" I said, "Whoever knows the truth." I said, "It doesn't matter now." And Uncle Tom was standing a few feet behind Mom, and he turned around, and I looked right at him. And I said, "Uncle Tom," I said, "you know." I said, "Don't you?" I said, "All of you know, don't you?" And Uncle Tom goes, "I don't know what you're talking about. What is it that we're supposed to know?" I said, "You know," I said, "that we're mother and daughter." Because Aunt Rose gave reference to Mom being my mother a few times, a handful of times. And this is gonna, hopefully it just goes to 38. So, but at Grandma's funeral, that's when I found out the truth, that all of them did really know. Mom introduced me to Aunt Omatine, and Aunt Omatine was up by the casket before she went to go see Grandma. And Mom goes, they greeted, and she said, "Aunt Omatine," she goes, "I would like to introduce you to Teresa, my adopted daughter that I told you about." And I looked at Mom, and I said, "I didn't know that you ever told anybody." And Mom looked at me, and she smiled. She goes, "I told you about Aunt Omatine." She goes, "How you always felt towards me." She goes, "I feel towards her. I'm very close to her." And I just look at Aunt Omatine. I look up at the Mom, and I said, "Who else knows that I was adopted?" I said, "Do my uncles know?" Because I always knew. Dad knew, obviously. I mean, your Uncle Ollie, and Grandma knew. And um and and I had figured out that Uncle Tom knew, and Aunt Rose knew. And Mom said yes. She goes, I said, "When did you tell him?" I said, all my uncles know? And Mom said yes. She goes, I told him. I said, when did you tell him? She said, I told him when it happened. They've always known. I thought, well, I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. Can I tell Tony now? And she said, no. No one's to know. But you told. Well, because she was Mom, she could tell whoever she wanted to. I wasn't allowed to tell anybody. So Tony never knew. And yeah, then the other arguments happened, and that's a totally different story. But no, I can say one more. Actually, I have time. So during Mom's 60th birthday celebration, and when your Uncle Ollie turned 55 celebration, I had stayed over that weekend, and stayed with Mom. And that Sunday, we were in your Uncle Ollie's apartment, and I was saying mama, 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 because I could. Grandma was in there, Dee was in there, your Uncle Ollie was in there, and Mom and me. So I knew I could. I knew it was safe. I knew I was allowed to. So I was saying mama, mama, mama to Mom a lot. And she came out of the bathroom, and because I was talking to Grandma and asking her stories about like when she grew up and stuff like that. And I said, so Grandma, I said, what kind of daughter, I said, was Mom? I said, when she was a little girl. Mom didn't like that. And so she came out and she's like, what are you talking about? She's, you never mind about that. And I'm like, what? I want to know because you never tell me. And anyway, Mom came and sat down next to me, and she said, you like calling me that, don't you? And I said, well, I do. And I said, I can in here. I said, in Dad's apartment, it's safe because everybody knows. And I mean, they knew. And Mom said, when everybody else starts coming, the family, you can't call me that. And long story short, because this is gonna trip over, I couldn't. I cried into Mom's arms, and I told her, I said, it's not fair. I said that I can't call you Mama. I said, because you are my mother, and I want to call you Mama. I don't want to call you Aunt Marie in front of anybody anymore. I want to call you Mama. And she just said, you can't. She couldn't take the risk. She couldn't take the risk of it going back to Missouri. She couldn't take the risk of you or Rita finding out. I would have loved for you guys to have found out, but according to Mom, you couldn't find out. But I'm glad you know. I'm glad I told you. I'm glad I got over my fear of getting a hold of you, and we connected. And I'm very grateful for the relationship that I have with you. And I hope this didn't trip over. It probably did. Anyway, that's pretty much the story of me being adopted, and I hope that the courts do find those papers. They're across the street in the basement somewhere. And as you know, like I told you, it might be months. I don't know. I thought it would be right away, but I just have to wait. And I have no choice for that. And I pray all the time, not every day, that my papers are found, and they will send them to me, and I'll be granted access to them. So